Better not take the elevator when it's dark. I've never liked going alone on elevators. Ever since I was a child, they made me anxious. I live on an 8th floor, so most of the time I have to take it. Through the elevator doors, when there's still daylight, you can see the floors you're passing. So during the day, I at least can see where I'm at, and that makes me feel a little less overwhelmed. At night, well, I'd rather take the stairs. It was really late when I got home, maybe at around 2 a.m., so I began going up the stairs. Everything was running smoothly, up until the 4th floor. I heard someone moaning in a faint, slow, and creepy voice. I freaked out and started climbing the steps as fast as I could. I couldn't really tell where the moanings were coming from, but whoever did it increased in volume of those terrifying moans as I came closer to my floor. When I was finally there, the moaning stopped abruptly. Just so you know, the elevator is facing the entrance of the stairs where I was at, and I knew it was there because I could see the light coming from the gap between its doors. And here's what, to this day, still scares me to the bone. The lights of the elevator started to flicker. And not because they were damaged, oh no. There was someone pacing from one side to the other inside the elevator. I ran as fast as I could to my apartment, and when I was finally inside, terrified, I heard the elevator door open and froze. I heard him or her moan again, and then cackle loudly, as if he or she was mocking me. Shortly after, I also heard steps, as if the person was walking down the stairs. I think my unreasonable fear towards elevators might have saved me from who knows what yesterday. And no, I still won't be taking the elevator at night. So, horrible moaning stranger, let's not meet. Hold the elevator. This experience happened when I was younger. I was staying in a dingy hotel with my family. The walls were a bit faded, and the lights were flickery in some halls. I had also recently watched The Shining, and was expecting twins to come out any second. I ended up meeting siblings, but they were cool. I and the 2 siblings were playing in the hotel pool. After we got out of the pool, we went to towel off. When we walked to the door to the pool room, we noticed a guy had been standing outside and had been looking in. I'm not sure how long he was there for, but it creeped me out. He walked away though, and when we poked our heads out, we couldn't see him. We walked down the hallway to the elevator and got in. I pressed my button, which was 2 floors up, and they pressed their button, which was 5 floors up. As the elevator doors closed slowly, I saw the guy running at us full sprint. He had a fedora, sunglasses, and a long coat on which flew behind him. "Hold the doors!" Something about the way he bellowed it was forceful and frightening, and I neglected to put my hand on the door. Something about this stranger danger stayed in my head. He was a feet away when the door closed. When the elevator reached the first stop, what do we see? The guy barreling down the hallway pointing at us. Fuck. They yelled, and I hurriedly pressed the door close button, and we rode up to their room. We quickly ran out of the elevator and barricaded ourselves in their room. Maybe 30 seconds to a minute after closing and locking the door, we hear a light knocking on it. I was silent and shaking by this point. One of the 2 kids climbed up on a chair and peered out the peephole. He looked back and said, "It's him." He knocked a few more times and walked away. After the whole ordeal, I called my parents and told them everything. I forgot about it until recently and decided it will work well on the subreddit. Man in the elevator. I have posted here once before, but I just recently remembered a creepier story that happened a while back that I think this subreddit will enjoy. I think I was about 13 years old when this incident occurred, so it was about 8 years ago, I think. Me and my family were on vacation in Orlando, and we were staying at the Nickelodeon Hotel. Very cool place, nice water parks and nice rooms. I was with my family, my mom, dad, brother, 2 sisters, and myself. I am the oldest. We were at Universal Studios for the day and got back rather late. On our way to our room, my parents were carrying all the merchandise we bought, so they kind of fell behind, and me and my 2 sisters, around the ages of 8 and 6, all got ahead of them together. My parents and brother, about age 10, were behind us. The elevator was just around the corner. Me and my sisters got to it first. The elevator opened just as we were walking around the corner. As we were walking around the corner, a man stepped off the elevator. I barely got a look at him because as soon as he saw me and my sisters, he immediately got back on without missing a beat. I should have known that was a bad sign, but unfortunately, I was a little slow back then, so it never occurred to me that this guy was trouble. Plus, my parents were not there to see the man, so they never stopped us from getting onto the elevator. My sisters were rushing to get on the elevator because they were at the "I want to press that button" age. We all got on to see that the man standing with his head facing the ground and both hands behind his back in the back of the elevator. He was very creepy looking. He had brown hair that reached the middle of his neck and looked like he hadn't showered in weeks. He looked like he was in his late 40s or early 50s because he had many wrinkles on his face and a creepy grin. He was wearing black jeans, a red, black, and white flannel, and black turtleneck underneath. Keep in mind, we are in Florida and it was a hot night, so it was weird that he was wearing all those layers. My youngest sister goes to press the 4th floor button, and all the buttons were lit up already. I wish I could say that what made me realize we were in trouble, but it didn't click just yet that this guy pressed all of the buttons. I held the door open for my parents and brother, and my mom looked at the guy. I'll never forget the face she made. She had a huge smile on her face looking at my brother, but she looked at the man, and that smile instantly dropped. I saw the look of terror in my mom's face. My dad even gave a strange look at the guy, like he knew to watch out for him. That was the moment when I realized that this man was up to no good. The elevator doors closed. My parents stood on each side of the man. Each were staring at him, just waiting to jump into action in case he made a move. My brother asked out loud, "Why did the guys press all the buttons?" And the older one of my 2 sisters, still completely oblivious to what was happening, blurted out, "That guy did it," and pointed right at the man. My mom let out a nervous giggle. The elevator was slow, but finally got to the 2nd floor. The man quickly got out of the elevator and went down the hallway. As soon as he left, my mom quickly closed the doors as we continued up. We stopped at the 3rd floor, closed the doors, then got to our floors on the 4th floor. My parents made sure we stayed with them this time. We got to our room, and that is when my parents started to freak out. My dad called the front desk to warn them about what had just happened so they could check it out. That was the last we ever saw of that man. We don't even know if the people at the hotel found him. All I can say now is I'm glad me and my family are still alive. God only knows what he would have done to one or all of us if my parents weren't there. The longest elevator ride. This takes place a few years back when I was in university, so basically young and dumb. There was a class gathering at a restaurant for a small Christmas party, and my friend Karen and I decided to meet up beforehand. We agreed to take the train and meet up at a certain stop instead of driving to save us the hassle. I stepped into a nearly empty train cart and sat down, immediately pulling out my iPod and turned up the music. It was cold and early in the afternoon, so the only people on there, excluding myself, was an elderly couple and a bundled up man sitting across from me. I dismissed him and turned into my music until I felt an uneasy feeling. I looked up and saw him smiling a friendly smile. I nodded at him but ignored him. I held my purse tighter and slowly started to put away my iPod so I can make a break for it when my stop came. As soon as the train stopped, I stepped off and I started to speed walk towards the elevator to go above ground. In hindsight, I should have took the stairs, but in my haste to go, I took the elevator. The guy slipped in as I feared, and he was a big man that looked even bigger, all bundled up, and I was a young petite girl, so I was even more terrified. He smiled down at me and said, "You have the most beautiful shoes ever." I was so shocked I couldn't do anything but stare down and noticed I was wearing my favorite black heels at this point. I must have forgotten I was even wearing heels. I muttered a quiet thank you and inched away from him in a confined space. He sighed and said, "You must have beautiful feet." I would do anything to have them. I was freaking out on the inside, and I pressed myself up against the wall the best I could. He continued, "Do you want to come to my place? I'm sure I have more beautiful shoes for your beautiful feet. I promise I'll do anything for you." At this point, I was so scared I didn't know what to do, except stick my hand in my bag and grope around for the mace my boyfriend bought me, hoping I wouldn't have to use it. The man began to smile and then said, "I'm sure I have a pair of red heels that'll make your black hair stand out even more." I muttered a no thank you and was relieved when the elevator door opened. But in order to get past the door, I had to squeeze past the man who was positioned half in front of the door. He grinned and leaned in for a hug, which I quickly dodged, fearing for my life. I'll never forget his angry, chilling eyes when I turned back to see if he was following. He remained by the elevator, smiling sinisterly and waving, muttering, more to himself, about beautiful red shoes. Thankfully for me, my friend Karen showed up, and at the sight of her, he fled down a flight of stairs. I was, and still am, terrified of getting in an elevator after that experience. So, you creepy ass shoe fetish man, let's not meet.